Living on Lake Lanier is such a unique experience, being able to enjoy the natural beauty of this massive lake while still having all of your modern conveniences just a few minutes away. Whether you like spending time fishing, boating, or being on the water, or you just want to enjoy the views, living on the lake is fantastic.
It's fantastic.
But there are a few nuances that you need to know before you buy a house here. Hi, I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group. I'm a local real estate agent right here in the Northeast Metro Atlanta area, and I specialize in helping clients from all over relocate right here to Georgia. Now, there are a few quirks to lakeside living that can turn a dream home into a money pit. So what do you need to know before you buy a home on Lake Lanier? Let's get into it. At the time of filming this video, there are 252 houses for sale on our local MLS system on Lake Lanier. Now, some of these are not actually on the lake, they're just close to it. Some are just lots that can be built on, and some don't have a dock or access to a community dock at all. But when you combine all of those up, there are a total of 252 current listings for sale right now on the lake. Now, this is quite a bit high compared to recent years. With recent interest rates being quite high right now, things are moving a little bit slower on Lake Lanier because many people purchase homes on the lake to be summer or weekend homes and not necessarily their primary residence. We are seeing pullback and demand is not quite as high as what it has been the past few years. There's currently a good bit of inventory, so if you are in the position to purchase a home, whether it be cash or you still can work with the higher interest rates, you have quite a bit of selection to choose from here at the moment. And since demand is lower than usual, this gives you some room to negotiate, whereas in the past, there was not much wiggle room at all because demand was so high. It's hard to give a specific average or median sales price for a lake home since the lake is so large and encompasses so much area. But I can tell you that based on my research and experience that in order to have your own dock, I think it's safe to say that you're going to expect to pay at least $700,000 for a home on Lake Lanier. You can find houses that are in neighborhoods with community docks for less, and there are homes with docks on the lake for less than $700,000, but they're going to be either very small, need quite a bit of work, or the ideal dock location or the dock itself is not the best. This is not to say that it's impossible to find a home in good shape with its own dock for less money, but it's a challenge. Often I will connect with people who say they have seen tons of homes online that they think would be perfect, and they are in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. And then we will go look at them in person and they are shocked at how small they are, how complicated the lot is, how far away the dock is, or just what bad shape the house and dock is in. Buying a home on the lake is expensive. That's just the way it is. For example, I recently showed some clients a home on the lake in Gainesville. It actually had a big double lot and had a very quick, gentle walk down to the dock. It's very level, and there was actually a really good amount of yard before you hit the core line. The dock, well, it needed to be replaced, but it was permitted for a bigger dock, so this could be, fun, easy to upgrade. The biggest downfall was that the house itself. It was a great little layout, a ranch with 3 bedrooms and 3 full bathrooms. The issue was that it was pretty much a gut job. This house, it was 50 years old and it had not been updated at all. It also had termite issues, so there was structural damage. The electric looked like most of it was original to the house, and obviously that is going to take quite a bit of money to bring it back to its glory, and it's listed for $700,000. You are really paying for the large lot and the great walk to the dock, which goes for a premium here on Lake Lanier. The same houses on the lake could be picked up and moved 5 miles away from the lake, and it wouldn't be worth half of what it is on Lake Lanier. Your money will stretch much further off of the water, obviously, but purchasing a lake home is one way to pretty much ensure that you're gonna make a return on your investment, and this cannot always be said about other homes. Something else to keep in mind about pricing on Lake Lanier is that not only are home prices higher, but so are the property taxes, well, because the home value is higher. And while technically you're not taxed more for living on the lake, but the way they calculate your taxes, depending upon which county you live in, is drastically impacted. For example, in Hall County, your property taxes are calculated in part due to how many linear feet you are along the shoreline of Lake Lanier. So while it may seem a really great benefit to have 100 feet of Lake Lanier front footage, just be wary and mindful that that's directly going to impact your property taxes. So one thing you want to keep in mind is that even if you have 100 feet of Lake Lanier frontage, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to use that land or that you can even see the lake. A lot of times that area is Army Corps land and you can't do anything with it. So you're being taxed for land that you can't even use, and for some reason Hall County is thinking that this is a benefit when in reality it's not. It also impacts your property taxes based on where you are on the lake. If you're in a cove, if you're over deep water, that is going to affect the code in which they use in Hall County to determine how you're taxed. All of those things are taken and accounted for by the tax assessors, so just keep that in mind while you're on the hunt for a lake home and while you're looking at your property tax bill as well if you're on Lake Lanier. Another big thing that you need to know about buying a home on Lake Lanier is that not all homes on the lake can be used as Airbnbs or short-term rentals, even if they are not in a neighborhood with an HOA. In Forsyth County, which is where Cumming is located, you cannot get a short-term rental business license unless the home is zoned as agricultural or agricultural residential, which you are essentially not going to find a home on Lake Lanier that is zoned like that. Now, this does not mean that people don't have homes on Forsyth County listed on Airbnb and VRBO. No, you can find plenty of homes in this county on these sites, but they are exposing themselves to the risk of major fines, and I would not suggest looking for a lake home in Forsyth if you are planning on using it as a short-term rental property. Cumming only represents one portion of the lake. You still have Gainesville and Flowery Branch in Hall County, Buford, Dawsonville, and some other smaller towns scattered across the lake to choose from if you want to be able to legally rent your home on Airbnb. Obviously, if you're purchasing a home on the lake for your primary residence, this is not going to impact you. But if you are planning on one day using it for a rental, this is something that you're going to want to discuss when we are coming up with a strategy to purchase your home on the lake. The next thing that you need to know about buying a home on Lake Lanier is that the Army Corps is in control of the lake. So you will be at their mercy.
Throw myself at your mercy.
And they move incredibly slow. And let me say that again.
So slow.
For example, I'm working with a seller who bought her lake home back in 2022. Fast forward to here we are today in 2024. She needs to relocate, so she is going to sell her lake house. And well, she filled out the owner transfer paperwork for her dock back in 2022 when she purchased the home. Now, in order to get this approved, an Army Ranger has to come out to your dock and visit in person to sign off on the ownership transfer paperwork. And y'all, this was 2 years ago. They just came out last week to sign off on this for her. That was 2 years later. Who knows how much longer she would have had to wait had she not called several times to get this done so she could sell. I myself live on the lake, and there's a tree in my backyard that looked like it was getting ready to fall on my house the next time a great big storm came through, but this tree was on Corps property. In fact, this tree, it was the actual tree that is painted to show where the Army Corps line begins. On Lake Lanier, you're gonna see red lines painted on trees, and those are indicator lines that tree is on the property or it's very nearby. Naturally, it was this tree in my backyard that was ready to take a tumble and it was gonna head right for my house. Since it's on Corps property and the boundary marker, I had to get approval from the Army Corps to have this tree taken down. Now, when you get a dock on the lake, there is a specific Army Ranger that is assigned to you, and you have to get approval from your specific ranger to have anything done or anything taken care of. Now, of course, you still have to foot the bill for all this. That's a question that I often get asked, and potential buyers from out of state just assume that the Army Corps pays for the maintenance. No. Even though the tree is on their land, you still have to foot the bill, even if it's going to damage your property. Now, when it comes time to get approval for a tree to be removed, sometimes they move a little bit quicker, but they were still moving incredibly slow for me. I experienced a little bit of frustration when I went down to the Army Corps office, met with a ranger who was on duty, and they said, yeah, this is going to get approved, but you still have to wait on your ranger.
This is so frustrating.
And that was very confusing to me. I was like, why can't you just approve it? And he was like, no, it needs to be your ranger. So that was incredibly frustrating. And finally, we got the ranger out there who approved to take the tree down. Now, this was something else that was incredibly stupid, in my opinion. The Army Ranger would only approve us to remove the tree above the red line. So as you can see from this picture, we had this nice big stump right outside our backyard. And if you look right next to it, you're gonna see pieces of the tree all cut up, right? Now, this is important that you need to know. The Army Corps will not allow you to remove this tree off of the property. They want you to keep it right where it is and let nature naturally take over and break down the tree. So this is gonna be nice to look at for the next few years or tens of years.
It's been 84 years.
So you get the point. You are going to have to get permission from the Army Corps in order to do just about anything with your dock or land on the Corps property. You can't just go out and get a bigger deck. If you aren't permitted for one, you can't just trim or clear brush or trees on Corps property, and you certainly can't build on it. Now, I've made an entire video of some more things that you need to know about buying on Lake Lanier, so if you haven't checked out that video, make sure you check it out. Something else that you need to know is that the water levels on Lake Lanier are controlled by a dam. So the lake is not going to flood, but the water levels can also get very low. So just because the dock at a house that you're looking at has water underneath it, now there may be a time in the future when we're going through a drought, not getting a whole lot of rainfall, where that water is going to be very shallow or there's not going to be water under the dock at all. If you buy a house in a cove, you are more likely to experience this, but the trade-off is that you're not going to get as much boat traffic as well around your dock. You will want to ask the seller what the depth of the water is at the back of the dock and if they end up on dry land during extreme droughts. Now, Google Maps and Google Satellite View can be your friend because it can show you historic trends of what that particular location looks like. And so that's always something that we are going to want to consider and explore. Another thing you need to consider when you're buying a home is if you would rather live in a more convenient location or have better lake views. Not that you necessarily have to choose one over the other, but there is a pretty good chance that you're not going to be able to find exactly what you're looking for when it comes to the view and walk to your dock and the house, and have convenient accessibility to stores and restaurants. In order to have all of these factors met perfectly, it is going to be both very difficult and extremely expensive. You often have to decide if you would rather have quicker access to all the amenities that you want to be close to simplify your daily life outside of the four walls you live in, and a less spectacular view or steeper walk down to your dock. Or you may say it's more of a concern to have a great view and an easier, gentle walk to the dock and be a little bit further away from shops and restaurants. Like we talked about earlier, the dock and lot are going to have a major impact on the price for lake homes. No matter what you decide, you're going to have to compromise on something. I can speak from personal experience though, living on the lake is so worth it. We made a compromise on the house that we purchased. It was not what we wanted. It was an old 60s brick ranch that had not had hardly any updating to it. But we loved the location and we loved the flat, gentle walk. The actual cove itself that we're on, it's okay. But we loved the location and proximity in Gainesville to all of the restaurants and stores. We recently went through a huge, almost entire gut job last year. Thank goodness that part is over, but it was so worth it because now we have exactly what we wanted. Took us a little while to get there, but we have it, and it was a great lesson in how you're going to have to compromise on something. For us, it was the house. Now though, it's a house that we absolutely love. I also love having the water in my backyard and being just, able to go outside an hour or two in the evenings after a long day at work, take in the great views of the lake, go for a short little boat ride, and of course, spending Saturdays out on the lake with friends. So is living on Lake Lanier in your future? And is this something that you are considering? If so, let me know in the comments below. And if you're considering making a move here or anywhere in Georgia, I would love to be your real estate agent. You can contact me by clicking the link below this video in my pinned comment. If you're considering a home on the lake, make sure you check out this video next.